What's up, everybody? Today we're going to talk about headgear and martial arts training. It's a hot topic. Everybody wants to know, does headgear really work? Is it effective? Why don't MMA fighters wear headgear? Why do boxers wear headgear? So we're going to get into it today. Someone actually asked me about headgear. They wanted to get into MMA training, and they went to a gym, and the gym, most of the people in the gym weren't wearing headgear, and they weren't wearing shin guards. So he asked me, is this a red flag for a gym? Now, so there's been multiple studies done on headgear. And I'm going to tell you my experience with headgear in martial arts. So typically, when you go to MMA gym, most people aren't going to wear headgear. The headgear, it gets real heavy on your head. When you start sweating, it doesn't protect you from damage. You get hit with the headgear, still get knocked out. How many boxers do we know that wore headgear on all their sparring sessions, still came out with dementia? You know what I'm saying? Muhammad Ali is a perfect example. Anytime you see Muhammad Ali sparring, he has headgear on. But you look in later part of his life, he had dementia, you know what I'm saying? And potentially CTE. There's been so many boxers, so many professional boxers. The headgear doesn't really make a difference. The headgear doesn't, honestly, it really doesn't make a difference. It doesn't protect you. And here I have, some stuff on it. So study. Fighters take statistically significant more headshots when wearing headgear. Now, I give you my anecdotal evidence of that. When you have that headgear on, it's way harder to dodge punches. It's way harder because you're wearing a thing on your head that weighs, almost a pound. And when you start sweating, it does weigh about a pound. So yeah, you're not going to be really slipping punches and moving your head and stuff like that when you got that headgear on, especially when you're doing heavy rounds or you're doing 5 rounds. You're sitting there, you become a punching bag. You essentially sit there and block. When it comes to martial arts, the best ways to evade a shot is to literally dodge it completely. Slipping punches, jumping out of the way of punches, moving your feet. These are the best ways to get out of the way of punches. Blocking is great, but blocking should be your last option. Your first option should be to evade completely, because you could block a punch. Someone like George Foreman back in the day, he would punch your arms, break your arms. You know what I'm saying? Punch it through the guard. So blocking isn't going to protect you 100% from the damage of punches and kicks, especially when we're talking about kicks. You'll kick right straight through someone's guard. Like, for example, Chuck Liddell, when he fought Rich Franklin, he blocked a kick, and the kick snapped his arm in half. If he would have dodged the kick completely, then there's no damage. So when you have that headgear on, you do take more damage. Definitely, you take more damage. Now, the headgear will help you not get cut up. It'll help you not get black eyes. It'll help stuff like that. But as far as mitigating damage, headgear is not going to mitigate that damage. Headgear does not prevent concussions or brain injuries, nor does it stop progressive disease, CTE, which is linked to repeated concussive or subconcussive impacts. That's a fact. That's 100% a fact. And a great example of that is, like, let's say you're sparring someone like Alex Pereira and you have that headgear on. You think that headgear is going to stop you from getting knocked out if he really drops that left hand on you? And here's an example of that. Alex Pereira, when he was an amateur boxer in Brazil, and these guys got headgear on. Let's see what happens. Mind you, they're all wearing headgear, right? Oh, here we go. Everyone's wearing. Let's see how that goes. They're getting dropped. You're getting knocked out brutally through the ropes. Done. The headgear is not stopping nothing. Ooh. That headgear is not helping you. You know, so in my opinion, headgear is just to stop black eyes, it's to stop cuts, stuff like that. You know, it makes some people feel safer, but in reality, it's not safer. And in reality, in my opinion, it's actually more dangerous because since you have that false sense of security with the headgear, people really start to drop punches 100% on you. Maybe you're sparring with Alex Pereira, you know, and Alex Pereira, in those days, maybe he doesn't feel 100% comfortable throwing that punch at 100% when you don't have the headgear on because he knows the dangers of it, right? Now you had the headgear on, you're getting a good heated sparring session, and he's like, oh, you're protected. I got the gloves on. Bop. You're getting knocked out, especially if that punch lands flush. And there's been multiple examples of different boxers who would always wear headgear, and in the end of their career, they had brain damage. You get hit by someone like Deontay Wilder, that headgear is not going to protect you. And as a matter of fact, at the end, we're going to watch some of Deontay Wilder's amateur Golden Glove days with the headgear on. Let's see if he's knocking people out through the headgear. Honestly, even the design of the headgear is not, you know, really great. Like, look at this design of this headgear. This is Muhammad Ali. When we look at the headgear he's wearing, you know, like, this doesn't protect your head at all. It's just a bunch of padding on his forehead, and then it's protecting his ears from getting punched and getting cauliflower ear. But other than that, look at that. The chin, there's no protection on the chin. There's no protection on the nose. So what is this even doing? You know what I'm saying? This is not doing anything. It's literally just for optics to make you feel like you're being safe, but you're not being safe. And in fact, it's more dangerous. Similar to the people in football when they had no helmets to when they had helmets. When they had no helmets, people weren't getting as injured. When they had helmets, people were getting super injured, right? So that's a very interesting thing. But even how these headgears are designed, especially back in the day, there is no protection on you for this. I mean, if you're trying to protect your forehead, okay, great. But the forehead is the most protected spot on your body. So why does this headgear have a bunch of padding in the forehead? How is this going to protect someone how is this going to protect anybody? It doesn't protect anybody. It doesn't help anybody. It just makes you feel safe when you're not safe. All right. So now headgear that's actually legit is headgear like this. Floyd Mayweather's headgear here, which obviously back in the day when Ali was fighting, they didn't really know as much, right? So they didn't really design great headgear. The headgears you can get today are much better. If you really, really feel like you want to wear headgear, they are better. And don't get me wrong, headgear can help you, you know, like if you're doing a bunch of boxing rounds, I mean, I guess headgear, it can help you. You know, you won't get black eyes. You won't get your nose broken if you're wearing the headgear with the bar around it. But don't think that you're not going to get knocked out with the headgear on. Don't think that you're not going to get concussion with the headgear on. Don't think that the headgear might not add more to your concussion. You know what I'm saying? For all you new guys out there who haven't sparred with headgear before and don't really, you know, shin guards, that's a different thing. Shin guards also do not protect you from getting destroyed from a kick. The only thing a shin guard does is protect you from not getting cut. Understand that. The shin guard is not made to help you make the shot soft. No, the shot's going to be hard. It's your leg. It's your leg bone coming at someone's head. But it will help you from not getting cut. I actually have a scar on my eye here from getting kicked without a shin guard. You know, boom, got hit with the kick, cut me right open. I got the scar there now forever. You know, so if you had a shin guard on, the cut's not there. That's what this equipment is for. You know, but the newer equipment, like winning, like what Floyd is wearing here, this stuff is pretty good. You know, it has more of his face protected. You know, as that big boxing gloves hits your face, it's going to make it hard to hit your nose and break your nose in that type of gear. You know, you can see the evolution. There's less padding in the forehead, you know, and more padding on the side of the head and stuff like that. More protection and kind of in the jaw area. This headgear Maidana is wearing is just like kind of really more so protecting the nose and kind of his face. But still at the end of the day, that headgear isn't really going to make that much of a difference. You know what I'm saying? It's really not going to keep you that safe. And it's really not going to keep you safe at all. So me personally, when I'm training, some days I might wear headgear. You know, like if I have a cut or something like that, and I don't want it to get bigger, I might wear headgear. But for the most part, I'm not wearing headgear when I train and when I spar. You know, and I've seen many people get knocked out in the gym wearing headgear. Many people get knocked out in the gym wearing headgear. So as far as MMA goes, that's my 2 cents on headgear. Also, when you're doing MMA, headgear is annoying because, you know, you're doing MMA, you're taking someone down. Now you can't see because they sprawled and they're pulling down your headgear. Now you're fighting somebody and you can't see and they're throwing head kicks at you. And it's just a chaotic spar. And now you take a head kick that you weren't supposed to take because you couldn't see because the headgear is blocking your vision. And now you got a concussion. So in MMA, that's one of the things that's one of the reasons that people don't wear headgear. Boxing is similar thing. Like you can get hit, people can pull down the headgear, people will use it as a leverage point, all this stuff. But in MMA, I don't recommend headgear at all. Boxing gloves, 16-ounce gloves, shin guards, knee pads. That's it. Elbow pads. You have to wear knee pads. Again, look at all this equipment. The knee pads are not to protect you from getting destroyed by a knee. The knee pad is to protect you from getting cut open. The elbow pad is to protect you from getting cut open. That's what all this equipment is for. It's not to minimize head trauma. It's to minimize the optics of getting cut. So that's my 2 cents on headgear and protective equipment in MMA. You know, even if you have a cup on, that's a different thing. You got a cup on, it's still going to hurt if you get kicked in the balls, but your balls aren't going to get destroyed. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you have a steel tie cup on. But that's my 2 cents for today. Let me know what you think about headgear. Do you wear headgear when you spar? What's your experience with headgear? Drop a comment.